In NBA history, few names command the unanimous respect of players, coaches, and fans. Steve Nash, one of the most talented and elegant point guards the league has ever seen, had no doubts when asked who he considered the greatest basketball player of all time. And perhaps most surprising, he admitted that he felt fear every time he had to face him. Steve Nash, a two-time NBA MVP and Hall of Famer, enjoyed a brilliant career. Born in South Africa and raised in Canada, he developed a playing style based on intelligence, passing precision, and exceptional court vision. His best years came with the Dallas Mavericks and Phoenix Suns, where he revolutionized offensive basketball with his speed and creativity. Towards the end of his career, he also wore the Los Angeles Lakers jersey, where injuries began to take their toll. He eventually retired in 2015, leaving behind a legacy difficult to match. Over nearly 2 decades in the NBA, Nash had the privilege and challenge of competing against some of the greatest legends: Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Tim Duncan, among others. However, when asked in a 2020 interview for the popular show Old Smoke who the best player he had ever seen was, Nash did not hesitate for a second. "MJ is my guy, always, without a doubt. For me, he's the greatest player in history." For Nash, Michael Jordan was not just a player, but an inspiration since childhood. He grew up admiring his plays, his charisma, and above all, his competitive mentality. And as if taken from a movie script, the boy who dreamed of playing in the NBA eventually found himself face to face with his idol. Reflecting on those moments, Nash confessed, "He was my childhood hero. I had the chance to play against him. He had incredible charisma, on top of all his gifts and skills. Mentally, you already know how great he is." What stood out the most was his honesty when speaking about what he felt on the court against Jordan. "He was different from any other player I've ever faced. I felt a lot of fear playing against him. I had never seen the league fear and revere a player that much." That statement carries weight, coming from someone who faced Kobe Bryant at his peak, and a young, title-hungry LeBron James. For Nash, Jordan belonged to another category, not only because of his offensive and defensive talent, but also because of the way he psychologically dominated both opponents and teammates. The mental impact he had on the league was something unique. Nash's view also reflects a common sentiment among players who experienced the Michael Jordan era. Many of them don't just recognize him as the greatest for his 6 championships, 5 MVP awards, or 10 scoring titles, but for the intensity and respect he demanded every time he stepped on the court. He wasn't just a basketball player, he was an unstoppable force. After retiring as a player, Steve Nash remained connected to the NBA as a coach. Between 2020 and 2022, he led the Brooklyn Nets in a tumultuous tenure marked by managing a star-studded roster that included Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. Although his coaching stint ended earlier than expected, his vision of the game and his legacy as one of the greatest point guards of all time remain intact. Nash's statement about Michael Jordan ultimately serves as a reminder that greatness is not only measured in statistics, but in the emotional impact a player can have on an entire league. Very few have made even their rivals admit they felt fear. Jordan did, and continues to do so decades after his retirement. In a world where the debate over the greatest player of all time still divides opinions between those who back Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, or even other past legends, Steve Nash's words add yet another testimony that reinforces the myth of the Chicago Bulls number 23. And coming from a 2-time MVP who was used to dominating on the court, his opinion carries special weight. If you're passionate about NBA history and want to hear more stories about legends like Michael Jordan, don't forget to subscribe to NBA World, hit the notification bell, and join us on this journey through the greatest stories in basketball.